There we go. That was weird. What's up with YouTube these days? Who knows? Anyway, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 573. Trope Talk, Are We the Baddies? And this is yet another overly sarcastic productions from Red. Came out this year in May. About 15 minutes. Almost 1 million views. Holy jeez.
Oh my god.
What's happening here? I don't know.
It's riding on the popularity of the meme.
I guess. I wish I knew, because this is such a straightforward pattern in storytelling. You could have good guys turn bad guys turn good. You have bad and good guys turn gray, or make the realization they try to change their ways. They can't change their ways. They get stuck. Da, da, da. There's all kinds of variations of revelations about the characters and why they defect and why they don't. We could have our favorite video games. I'm sure we've mentioned all kinds of characters from them that go that way. I just thought of Metal Gear Solid 4, where you're just a guy and you just build a base and you're just selling your military services to whoever wants to use them. So it's just all about basic narrative structure, A to B to C, and along the way you have to do something evil or bad to get by. So
I feel compelled to inform the audience that we already solved the entire issue in the green room before the stream started, so there's nothing to say.
Really, there's not much. Yeah, I know. All right, we may as well get this over with.
How long is this?
15 minutes. It won't take long.
Oh my! How can you talk 15 minutes about this?
And she talks really fast too.
Okay, and there's some stupid ads.
Yeah. Again, this is what I mean. Is okay. Let me recount what we went over in the green room. Is that the Are We the Baddies refers to a very specific time, a very specific trope, where the Nazi of the universe goes, wait, am I a bad person? Like it's a fucking BioWare game. There's only so much you can say about that specific type of writing, that specific type of writing tool.
Yeah, well,
it's not like it's not a fall from grace. It's not a, oh my god, what have I done? It's a bad person going, am I doing something wrong here?
Yeah.
So they're probably misusing the trope, at least a name for it.
Yeah, should we kill 100% of them with fire, or 100% with fire and water? Like, what's our option here? Like, oh, okay, let's try. Let's try fire, water, and crushing. Let's try all the above.
No, Hans. You need to be humanitarian now. Tan pitch first. Tan pitch.
Yeah. Okay, let's get going. Everything looks good. We're all together now, and ready to go. It's good.
The perfect tool for broadening your horizons and questioning the moral character of your spiky pauldron boss.
Oh,
Far be it from me to generalize off an incomplete dataset unless it's Friday or I'm sleepy or the sun rose in the morning, but as a rule, most fiction is pretty upfront about who the good guys and bad guys are. Moral gray areas and surprise twist villain reveals are the exception, not the rule. Characters will slyly glower for nobody's benefit but the camera just so
No, we're pretty clear when people are morally gray. It's pretty obvious. You just watch, I don't know, a Marvel film. If you don't understand, like, Guardians of the Galaxy are morally gray, it's like, okay, but I mean, what don't you get? They kill people. It's like, okay.
I mean, you could be presented as morally upstanding and still kill people.
Yeah, like Chronicles of Riddick. I said Metal Gear Solid 4. There's all kinds of scenes where the good guy.
America.
Yeah, the good guy has to do something evil or bad or violent to get the job done. That's fine.
the audience knows they can't be trusted. Musical stings and dialogue patterns will clue us in on who's dangerous and bad versus who's a quippy, fun-loving hero. In real life, you can't judge a book by its cover, but in fiction...
Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. We are programmed to do that. When you see some sketchy weirdo twitching in an alleyway, sniffing smoke over a trash can, that's your cue to leave.
Ah, you're just prejudiced.
Indeed I am, and that's why
you're
I'm still
biased
alive.
against sketchy, shadowy people.
I'm also biased towards people that don't finish their characters and only finish the eyes.
Oh. Well then.
Like, look, she hasn't even finished her character. It's just red.
Yeah, but it's the eyes are red. That's why it's red, and blue has blue eyes. That's why it's like that's the
Ooh.
joke. Ooh.
Wow, so artsy fartsy, very fancy.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
That is what the-
minimalism.
There for, and most stories will focus on showing audiences familiar with them and knows what to expect going forward. And sometimes that means the bad guys are spooky baritones in long black capes and ominous face-concealing masks, while the heroes are a delightful cadre of beautiful young people with personal morals.
One of the most famous villains that comes off, well, that I can think of, Moriarty, and he's not exactly the most spooky-looking individual.
Well, it depends what genre. It sounds like she's just describing cartoons. Like, I don't get what she's like, oh, this is how stories work. It's like, which genre?
It's just Thundercats.
Yeah. We're watching Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Personal morals as pristine as their winning smiles. But sometimes that's just what the characters think is happening. In some stories, the true morality of the situation is being purposefully obfuscated, typically reversed. The hero will be under the strong and heartfelt impression that their culture, society, organization, friend group, training facility, etc. are the go-getting paragon heroes, while their enemies are the nasty and corrupt minions of evil that must be morally opposed.
Yes, that is a way some... But, hang on, let me increase my sensitivity. It looks like falling out. There we go. Am I falling out?
Yeah, you're fine.
You're fine.
Alright. Yeah, some stories do this, yes. They don't usually drag it on for too long, though. I was betrayed by the police or whatever. That kind of story is a very, very common trope. It's a trope in and of itself.
Right.
It's a cop turning bad because his police station is bad. Like that kind of trope.
Yeah, like there's like I mentioned Chronicles of Riddick before, where he's just a guy trying to escape or run away or try not to die from the necrophages or whatever that big group is called. And he ends up becoming the head of the necrophages because he's so powerful and strong and fights and beats the head necrophage because the culture says whatever you kill, you keep. So he becomes the king because he's managed to kill the big evil guy. It's like, okay, is he any better? Is he any more moral? No, he's a murderer. He kills people to survive and he's very good at it. So is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. That's not the point of the story. He's a hero character who's trying to save the day, or at least save himself.
I'll say this, if this is the most outstanding part of your narrative, is the police officer station is actually bad. If the most outstanding part of your story is the twist, quote unquote, of Dread movie, your story's probably not worth talking about.
Yeah, the main character, whoever's making this realization, has to have some sort of moral dilemma where they're like, oh, I guess I should adhere to the laws of the land because my past is not the same as these laws. It's like my behavior must be changed. You're like, okay, fine. Character moment. Great. Why is that? Like, I need an example exactly to say where this development is an issue or bad, or because right now I just like any revelation could do, or it doesn't even have to be a theme. It doesn't even have to be part of the narrative. It's just you play as Big Boss, and everyone knows in the future Big Boss is going to be the villain, but not in this context of this story. So who cares?
What shapes him into that villain?
Yeah, I know. It's like the thin red line. It's like, oh, you white phosphorus this little village. Like, oh, that's bad. But that was your only option. You had there was no other opportunity to avoid that. So anyway, Turmoil. Hey, Turmoil, how's it going? I smell the imperialism allegory coming on. Ooh, imperialism.
Oh no! Infrastructure, roads, the horror.
But usually informed fairly quickly that all is not as it seems, or as a suspiciously dark outfit, or the enemy leader is a beautiful young person, or the name of the hero's
Could you not use the exact same genre cartoons, please? Or just use something that isn't meant for 7+-year-old girls?
No. Something outside of cartoons would be nice. Just to give us some like Shakespearean
with-
classic.
Mhm.
Yeah, something like, oh, it's like a Greek tragedy. Okay, great. We can work with that.
Now, that would be fucking wonderful if you
Yeah, if she's-
actually dug into those Greek videos they've done and looked for one of those examples of a hero that's ousted by their own kingdom.
Yeah, because she's using Greek stuff otherwise quite a lot.
Right.
Why not here?
Yeah. I honestly don't think this is much of a trope at all. It's just a thing that you could do with a story for a character moment to give them some introspection. It's not a big deal. You can have them introspect about their childhood. I don't really care. Just what's the point? Why are you doing this way? What is the focus of the narrative?
Or the name of the hero's organization is something subtly ominous like the Empire or Kitten Squishers Incorporated. Whatever the specifics, the
Empire
audience is
isn't
clued in
necessarily
pretty quickly
evil.
that our optimistic hero may be being misled. And typically early in the first act, right where you put the inciting incident, in fact, the hero will become suspicious of the same. Somehow, something slips through. Maybe a suspiciously beautiful enemy agent who seems to be making some weirdly reasonable points, or a quick glimpse at the outside world calls into question the stories our hero's been told about the way things
No,
work, or the hero's boss
don't use
calls
that
everyone in
crap.
for a
An inciting disruption. I don't think this is how it works. You just have the character question themselves. I don't care if it's progressive or happens all at once. If it's part of their character, it works. If it's not part of their character, it comes out of nowhere. It feels forced and weird.
Also, I'm pretty sure there's no surprise that Count Frollo is an evil bastard. Everyone knows what he does. Everyone knows what he's willing to do. That's one of the first things you learn about him, is that he sees corruption everywhere except within.
PowerPoint to become the first empire solely run on the renewable energy provided by orphan souls. Whatever the trigger, something causes our hero to question their hitherto ironclad black and white worldview. Something makes our hero wonder, are we the bad guy?
No, he's not. Oh lordy. Okay. The whole joke about Are We the Baddies is that it's an SS soldier. He has the fucking crossbones on his forehead or on his cap, meaning he's already killed thousands upon thousands of people. He's probably raped and killed and pillaged orphans on his way here and strangled puppies in the meantime. It's the fact that he suddenly has to use a flamethrower that makes him go, wait, am I a bad person? That's the whole fucking joke.
Yeah, this is a skit from that comedy show in Great Britain that is like 15 years old or something. It's a trope. I don't know. It's more of a meme than a trope. I don't think we could use this example.
That's what I mean, is that it is a meme.
Yeah.
There is no villain at this point that goes, wait, I've killed well, unless you're a BioWare developer. I've killed so many people up to this point. Oh, wait, no. Marvel started doing this too with Miss Marvel and WandaVision, Multiverse of Madness, where the main villain will just go, oh no, I've genocided entire timelines. I've killed trillions of people, but now my children know that I'm a bad person, and I now know that I've done something bad.
Wait, killing is bad?
Oh.
Does that make me a bad person? Why nobody told me?
Exactly. Nobody stands in that position. That's the entire joke. But I'm pretty sure I'm stuck here I'm surrounded by bad people. Would be more fitting for the trope.
Yeah, we need a proper setup. This is just any character growth, like setup, payoff. It's like, yes, realization. Should I change my ways? Do I have the opportunity to do so? That's what we need to see. This could be any pattern. It doesn't matter what the motivation or the cause is. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't like vanilla ice cream after living in vanilla ice cream land for 10 years. Great. Fantastic. Go elsewhere.
Are there other flavors out there?
A whole new world. Oh, let's go explore. Yeah, wherever you take your narrative.
Garlic.
Yeah, wherever you go with your story, it doesn't matter. Like, this is such a minor thing to even mention.
It strikes me as the enemies to lovers, and talk about that for 15 minutes. It's like, why would you do that? You're not supposed. That is a minor trope or event within a larger story. It is not something that should be turning or twisting your entire narrative.
Yeah,
If it does, you better pull it off really, really well.
Yeah, compare this to Trigun, where our hero is just in bed because he can't deal with the fact that he killed a man, or he got a man killed. And he was forced to do so, and he just could not come to that realization. He never said he was bad. He just can't believe he killed a man as a result of being forced to do so. That is not the trope. That is just him realizing what he's done.
Yeah, you could even do this in war stories. Gundam does this a lot. One that comes off the top of mind is what's his face? It's the main character from 08 MS Team.
Okay.
Where the main character goes, all right, yeah, I'm going down to kill these bad guys. And then he meets his first bad guy on the, in the jungle. And it's this green-looking Cyclops that comes at him. Shiramada, that was his name. And he meets this Cyclops-looking robot with an axe. And he goes, all right, stay back. I don't want to kill you. There's no reason for us to fight here. We're both far away from allies. And the guy just charges him, and he goes, all right, I'll shoot. And he shoots his right arm off. The guy just lifts up his left arm and keeps going at him. And he just cannot understand why somebody would be so dedicated to kill you in the middle of nowhere. And he has to put him down, and he deals with that for the rest of the episode, where he feels shaken at that.
Yeah.
And just a determination these obvious bad guys are supposed to have.
Yeah, stories of war where soldiers are forced to kill each other is not even the trope. It's just, I'm going to do my duty. And the other guy's like, well, I don't want to kill you, but that's what we're out here for. So he's forced to make a choice to keep himself alive. He has to kill.
That's a larger
fine.
trope than... Yeah, and it's a large and more specific trope than one... I can't even describe. It's not even like a one moment. It's like a second of dialogue where a Nazi goes, maybe putting tar on you and then pitching you on fire is a bit too far.
Yeah, I just go back to, because we were talking about Bebop yesterday. It's like when Spike is saving Faye and he's pointing the gun at that mobster, and he's like, okay, we want you to put your gun down, and then he just blows him in the head. He just kills everyone in the room. It's like he knows exactly who he is. He doesn't need any character moments. He doesn't need to pause and reflect on his life. It's like, no, he knows exactly who he is. The time for this to happen is such specific, either for comedic reasons or for coming of age, or I don't know, some sort of wartime story, that the bad guys or the villains make the realization, hey, let's not genocide these people. Let's just take a few of them. And there's a dispute. Someone gets angry. Someone leaves the order. Someone storms off. Someone gets demoted. And that's usually how it goes. Not, I'm going to defect because I disagree with you. But even then, it's wartime. There's lots of conflicts in war between soldiers and higher ranks. So.
Oh, actually, I just realized there is a single example that I can think of where this is applicable. It's the Hunt from the Star Wars Battlefront 2, the new one, campaign. She is a SS officer, Special Forces within the Empire. The only time she questions what the Empire has been doing, even as she's flying through the second Death Star, is that she questions whether the Empire might be right or wrong after they state that, oh yeah, we're going to your home planet as the rebellions have started there, and we're going to glass it. And she goes, wait, you can't glass my planet. And that's when she joins the rebellion.
Yay.
That's the only one I can think of where this would be applicable, where a Nazi would go, maybe it's gone too far. And that's entirely for selfish reasons.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the one thing that works on everybody. Wait, you want to harm the thing I care about? That wasn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, this is like the fiasco at the border in the States right now, where they're shipping off immigrants to cities that they weren't supposed to be shipped to, and all the mayors are complaining because they're getting a few hundred immigrants, whereas the border cities and the border states are getting like thousands and thousands a day.
Yeah, but they're getting shipped to Democrat cities who do want the open border so they can deal with the immigrants.
Exactly. Isn't it great? Okay, keep going.
Villainy inherent in this reveal, this is actually a startlingly common heroic origin story, and more startlingly, it almost always happens to total paragons. See, most evil empires and similar organizations are pretty unsubtle about their evil machinations.
So when Darth Vader decides to save his son, he's a total paragon?
I think she's just using the Empire as the obvious example of evil,
Yeah, but
on the
as
nose evil.
We just had the example.
Of an SS officer that goes, well, I don't want it when it's me that's on my planet that's destroyed, okay?
There's also my question regarding Star Wars and this trope. How does the Secret Apprentice from Force Unleashed fall into this?
He's just out for revenge.
No. He's been growing up basically brainwashed.
He finds out he's a clone. He gets angry. He's not sure what to do. Wait, the second game. Sorry, I'm thinking about the second game.
I was about to say that
Fuck the second game.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah. I guess the second game works, but even there, he's usually sent against people that are trying to do really, really bad shit. That's why I say it's such a specific trope. It's like Are We the Baddies refers to a monster above monsters that then suddenly has a conniption. It's not just somebody that is part of a larger organ.
Yeah, I need
suddenly...
I need an example from Reddit. I'm just like, what are you talking about? It's not Darth Vader. It can't be Darth Vader.
So let's see if Red actually has an example.
Yeah, because Vader did not operate like that. Vader knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Maybe Red has a full explanation, and we're just jumping the gun.
I hope so.
Right.
At the top levels, but for the purposes of PR and maintaining order in the rank and file and stuff, they usually have a veneer of propaganda reframing the stuff they do as good, or at least necessary, or failing all of that, harmless fun. The Empire isn't evil, it's just keeping things organized. Everyone loves organization, so some people working for Kitten Squishers Incorporated can see the writing on the wall and know they're doing bad stuff and are tacitly on board with that, but this paradigm will also attract the kind of big-hearted paragons who are really excited to uphold the stated ideals Kitten Squishers Incorporated highlights in all their onboarding seminars. The danger of...
It's interesting that she brings up Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Because Fullmetal Alchemist is I'd say infamously complex story, where even the most moral of paragons were fully on board with genocide.
Yep.
They do not feel bad about what they've done. They feel bad about the fact that they didn't get punished.
Yeah, this is a military organization, and everyone's following orders.
Yeah, that's the big conclusion in the manga and in Brotherhood. From, what's this, Elsa, I think his name was, the main character? His talk with the military woman was that she explains the entire war to him, or at least the basics of it, and says that, yeah, overall, the only regret they had was that they did not get punished for genocide.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like not an evil villain, but like just a villain. Like I'm thinking of like the movie Hero, where Jet Li is getting closer and closer to the Emperor or whoever that guy is, and he makes the realization, oh, my opponent is just like me. I should stop trying to do all this slaughter and stuff. But it's not that, oh, I'm evil. It's like, oh, I'm fighting for the same thing. We're doing the same thing. Why am I going on this campaign? And that's when Jet Li says, okay, I'm not going to kill you because I don't have to anymore. It's a revelation about understanding your opponent, not I'm the bad guy. Why am I doing this? So
Oh, Tyler came in with something interesting. Says, okay, so I just looked it up if this was really a trope or not, and it is. It's a everything's a trope, and it does, but it's actually called heel realization, and that's a much more adequate explanation for what she's trying to say.
Okay.
Are we the baddies refers to a Nazi having second thoughts about killing people with a flamethrower.
Mm-hmm.
Heel realization is realizing, hold up, this is too far, and turning around. Or, hold up, this is wrong, and then going around.
Right.
Much more applicable.
Okay.
Course is that these pivot as soon as they learn what actually goes down at Kitten Squisher's HQ, as they were taking all their propaganda at 100% face value rather than seeing things from a broader and potentially more nuanced perspective. Often all it takes is a field trip or a single conversation with a suspiciously beautiful rebel to show these guys the error of their ways, and suddenly they have a whole new black and white worldview to uncritically absorb. This trope is most frequently a way to add a little exciting spice to the evil empire heroic rebels stock narrative, since it lets you pull protagonists from both sides of the conflict without having to get all morally complicated in the process.
I do like this. She certainly has a spin, and that's what I've always had problems with in regards to all these casting productions, is that they try to hide their actual narrative under quote unquote sarcasm, where she's saying, "Oh yeah, then they can change their worldview and realize everything they've been told is a lie, so they can unquestionably follow this line of thinking." Like, okay, so she's clearly thinks that this has its own issues, and she clearly thinks that it's just another way to do basic bitch storytelling, but to throw in a little spice.
Well, I think the story of Finn is a good example, but again, it's another military organization. It's just, oh, war is bad. I shouldn't kill villagers. Okay.
Yeah, that's not really a moment of realization that you're on the side of the bad guys.
Yeah, he's been a soldier all his life. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole scene doesn't really make sense. That would have needed setup.
Yeah, this is his first military operation where he's firing a gun.
Or at least, some flashback backstory afterwards of where he comes from, how he got to this point where he would defect in the first place, not just because, oh, my comrades get shot and some civilians. You should be desensitized at this point to be able to stand that,
right?
Also,
especially since he's been taken as a child. So what the hell is? It makes no sense.
So there's an argument in chat or a discussion about whether She-Ra is why Tyler dislikes She-Ra, which, I mean, just look at it. You don't need to look too deep into it to realize or to come to a conclusion on why people don't like She-Ra. But the second one is a lot more interesting. Drake the Duelist says, isn't the main question of this not are we the baddies, but are they the worsies? Tons of stories are about bad people versus the worse ones. Grades on the curve. And yeah, that's basically the conflict of Gundam, the original. That then bleeds into what happens when you become the worsie. In the second one, that is.
All right.
Like,
let's keep going.
But beyond basic black and white morality, this trope actually explores a very interesting space about propaganda and perspective. The heroes at the center of these stories often have extremely limited worldviews before their surprise revelation. Frequently, they've been raised their whole lives in this propagandistic environment and have zero access to competing perspectives or even anyone outside that environment. Often they have a mentor and/or parental figure who's been guiding them as they grew, preparing them for greatness and a promotion to Kitten Squisher upper management. With a limited view of the world at large being actively curated by someone with power over them, it's no wonder that these characters have a completely circumstantial perspective on morality.
Yeah, and that's why the Finn story doesn't make sense, because it's just all of a sudden for no reason. In a situation that he should have been prepared for all his bloody life.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to get on the APC with a gun if he wasn't trained to do so and ready to fire and kill and this and that.
Which is in itself, that's just Abrams not thinking for even 2 seconds about what he's actually writing, which is a achievement in and of itself. I applaud any writer that can look at writing like this and go through it and then go, yep, we'll go with that, despite even just a little cursory glance at anything that these people write. It's like, hang on, how can he be an educated janitor and also be an educated, brainwashed fighter on the ground, but he's the only one that has conniptions about gunning down civilians?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
And
the,
later on in the same movie, he has no problems with shooting his own people.
Oh God, do janitors like take turns being soldiers and I don't know
Pilots.
Yeah, bathroom technicians. Like, what's the scope of roles you have to be when you work at the Empire? You just do everything.
The whole thing is the general stormtrooper is not expected to be able to fly a TIE fighter.
Yeah,
it's not the same thing. And that he was then just not just carelessly enjoying shooting other stormtroopers, knowing that he was one of them, and that there are probably others who are like him. It's just bafflingly insane. The whole thing is that those things, like the Abrams stuff, is written for you look at each frame by itself, disconnected from every other frame. Like you imagine cutting apart a comic book. That makes no sense. And then you have all these singular frames, and they're all really well drawn, really well colored, and great perspective. Everything. There's lots of emotion going on. It's brilliant. But you can't put an actual story together from it. But each frame by itself is great. Like the scene where the dying stormtrooper puts his hand on Finn's helmet and leaves a bloody mark. It's like, okay, cool, looks good, but the way we got there is bullshit, and what follows afterwards is also bullshit. This is what I mean with this hack writing that Favreau is also doing, that you've seen a lot in the Clone Wars show, as well returned in Rebels, and then again returned in Mandalorian. These people all they're doing it to different degrees of failure, let's say, or competence if you must. But in the end, they're all doing exactly this. They have this really cool frame, and they just want to show the really cool frame, and they don't know how to really write themselves towards that or from that, and do not think about the consequences for the story that happens from that point on, because that is oftentimes even character breaking.
Yeah, imagine if that stormtrooper was a Biggs or Wedge character to Finn, and that's the last we see of him, because we had a scene with them before. There's a setup. They have a friendship. That's when Finn starts guessing maybe the Empire isn't so hot, and then he's forced to kill civilians. He's like, wait a second, what's going on? I just lost a friend. I don't feel up for this. At least it'd be something that caused him to question it, as opposed to, killing civilians is bad. Like, yeah, he's the Empire.
Finn's entire mental journey would need to include, well, I hate the Empire, but how can I, in good conscience, kill stormtroopers?
Honestly, I don't see any point in trying to make the sequels work, because J.J. Abrams didn't put any energy into making them work.
Oh no! I'm just this one point. I'm not trying to make anything that work. I'm just trying to say what would have made sense. These things are with the material that's there, I believe they are unsalvageable.
All right.
But back to this topic here.
Let's just keep going. This is going to drag on. If we just ramble on with Red, which gives us more examples.
Before we,
I would like some good examples, not this crap cartoon crap.
Yeah.
Copper Arnold did mention you got to school for your Imperial position, and that brings me on to something that's actually worth talking about with her examples. And when I say worth, I mean from her end. is the idea of propaganda. And this thing you should, as a writer, be very careful of if you want a clear bad faction. Because all her examples, with the exception of She-Ra, because I have no interest in it and no knowledge of it, both the Empire and the Fire Nations are not just propaganda machines, they have very legitimate reasons for why they are evil. The Empire is doing it for control, and we see that in the prequels. And we see that in Episode 4 on Tatooine, which is a mostly hot cartel-owned planet, where slavery and these little black creatures going around and stealing your shit and sand people are rife on the planet. And people gunning each other down inside cafeterias are just an accepted norm. Everyone goes back to their old stuff. That's not something most people would love to live in, okay?
The Wild West in really, really bad.
All right, we got a super chat and a donation to go through, and we'll get back to the video. Turmoil has super chatted. Star Wars Battlefront 2 story has the same BS. That thing has a story?
That's what I talked about with the SS officer going, oh, I don't want my planet to be blasted.
Oh, okay, that was a multiplayer action. I had to do it to him. Thanks for the donation. Usually in a piece of media about a soldier who joins the opposite sides for moral reasons, the soldier isn't a boot. He's typically a commando of some sort. Hell, Anakin, when he betrayed the Republic, was an Elite Jedi. That's what made him so dangerous. The Anakin becoming whatever was so dumb. And there was no mention or no opportunity for him to go, am I doing the wrong? Is this bad? There's nothing like that.
Was too ham-fisted.
It was completely forced. And when he starts crying at the end, you're like, I don't care. This is stupid. That's a dumb way to get from A to Z. Because, oh, my wife is going to die, and I have a vision she's going to die, so I'm going to listen to the old crazy man telling me to kill people so he could possibly help me with some magical spell he hasn't learned yet? Like, what? What? That's the reason? It's retarded. So it's not even the trope we're talking about, but even the Darth Vader trope in episode 6, he did it because he loved his son, not because he's like, oh, I'm a bad person, I got to stop being bad now. It's like, nope. Emperor was going to kill his son. He stopped the Emperor. That's all. Still an evil dude. Anyway. Let's keep going. 4 minutes in. Jeez.
The minute they're given access to the world outside that bubble, they start to realize how narrow their slice of reality really is. Often this drives these characters to take a more active interest in the sides of kitten squisher operations they don't normally deal with, to try and determine for the first time whether or not what they've been told is good is actually good. And because these characters are typically passionate paragons, as soon as they've seen enough,
This implies that the moral authority is not within their own frame. It's someone else is telling them, oh yeah, by the way, killing kittens is bad. It's like, oh, is it? And yeah, you shouldn't do that. It's like, okay. This is, again, she's making up another scenario. And maybe that character in that cartoon is a good example, but I don't know. She's not talking about it.
I think an example of a character like that might be Galad Damodred in Wheel of Time. Not in the show. He's not shown up in the show, thankfully. He's a bit of like he's like a stereotypical paragon. Imagine an autistic paladin, and he becomes over the years ends up, because he's a really good sword fighter, and he's actually reading. So he's not the prince, but he's like the half brother of the princess of a country, and they send one to the spellcasters in the north, and the brother to the so-called Children of the Light, which is a play on the Catholic Church Inquisition times. in the southwest, and so like to opposite factions, because that country wants to retain good standing with all of them. And so he learns with in that military organization. The country is run by these children of the light, as they call themselves, and he's one of the few people who's ever actually reading their holy texts and realizes that, wait a minute, all this stuff we're doing in this organization, that's actually not in the text. The stuff that the Inquisitors are saying and all of that, that's not in here. The text is actually really good, but this whole organization is just not actually following after that, and actually kind of bad. And he eventually ends up becoming head of this bloody thing, and if he had more time, he might have probably brought reform to it.
Okay, but
due to the course of the story, that doesn't happen. But basically, he's an actual paragon who goes into an organization that he thinks is super virtuous, super awesome, because of its propaganda, and then as he sees it from the inside, realizes, wait a minute, this is crap.
Yeah, but does the trope require the realization for him to say, I have to change my ways? Is that...
No, he doesn't change his ways at all. He has the same core of righteousness that he always had.
So this can be applied to any revelation about any moral quandary, not necessarily the organization, but anything he doesn't like. Let's look at what was that game we were watching Bears play, Revengeance, where Raiden is being he's fighting that boss. And throughout the fight, he's agreeing with the boss. Yeah, I am a killer. Like, he's saying, yeah, I am a bad guy. But he accepts the fact he's a bad guy.
You mean Monsoon?
Is it Monsoon? I don't remember his name, yeah.
The red guy?
Well, the guy with all the cuts in his body. He's just basically an accordion man.
Monsoon.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so Raiden accepts the fact he's crazy and a murderer, and that's that. It's like, does he need to be... turned into good? No, he doesn't. He just keeps going. So I'm curious, what's the point of this? Because you could say any revelation, and then you can go any direction you want. In that case, oh, you're a bad guy too. I guess I am. Ha ha ha. Like, all right, fine. That you could do that in your story. That's totally. But is that the same trope? I don't even know if it is. It's just a revelation. You could say this about any climax in a story. The character goes, whoa, now I got to change the way I think or behave or act or change my plot or whatever.
Again, Tyler already called her out for inventing her own name for a trope.
It's like there's a trope for a question in a story where we should question authority. Yes, you should. And then you do whatever you want with that revelation. It's like, great. What a great pattern in storytelling. Dialogue where we ask questions.
Reflecting upon our actions.
We disagree.
What a novel idea.
We disagree with the guy of an authority figure. Like, oh.
Yeah. And if she brought up some better concrete arguments here, it might be worth of discussion, but it's just drivel crap cartoons of modernity, of the present day. And that scene from Avatar: The Last Airbender doesn't fit here because Aang was in disguise in an imperial class of the Fire Nation.
No, the point was that she wanted to use that as an example of them, of the Fire Nation indoctrinating children, which they don't really have to. The Fire Nation already accepted the whole point of their conquest is that as long as there's differences in nations, there's going to be war. So they're going to unite all nations regardless of whether the other nations accept it or not.
Oh, wait. So when the Fire Nation teaches its values and that they're the cool people to their children in school, that's horrible, evil indoctrination. But when red social justice socialists want to tell us that socialism is totally good, please ignore the 200 million dead people in the last century, and how we're trying to normalize pedophilia and trying to push it onto children in school and confusing them about what sex they are so that they want to castrate themselves without having any clue what is actually going on. That is not indoctrination, right, Red?
Just any general.
Have you ever reflected upon yourself and asked yourself whether you are part of the baddies?
That is the problem, is that the reason why I object to the idea of using the Aang hiding within the Imperial classroom and whatnot is that what they show isn't that bad. Hell,
Yeah.
you'd find more radicals within an American high school these days.
Yeah.
All right. Here is Gaw 004. Thank you, sir. Off topic. All right. But on the gaming side, I'd recommend 3D Realms Showcase today. A lot of stuff you guys might like. The Rise of Triad Remaster with Map Editor. Hey, that's cool. I'm glad to see old classic games getting remade. I did hear about Konami remastering Suikoden 1 and 2, just because I'm a part of a Facebook group that likes Suikoden. But I have not been paying attention at all to all the gaming news this week, outside of a few little news stories. But that's really cool. I think Rise of Triad is awesome. Yeah, I do remember that game. That was fun. One of those beautiful Doom clones that actually was pretty fun to play.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that.
Yeah, 3D Realms, awesome. 3D Realms is still around? Holy crap!
Yes, and they are pretty big.
All right.
Very quickly to join the heroic rebels instead. And mentors, and occasionally by other future heroes beginning to question their role in the Kitten Squisher corporate ladder. Now, there are a few key ingredients that make this trope what it is. As discussed, our hero must initially be lacking in perspective, so the revelation is suitably dramatic, but it's also important that they're not in charge. They're following someone's lead rather than determining their own life trajectory, and their motivation typically aligns with whatever their boss's stated motivation is. Helping people, bringing order, saving the world, something equally vague and generally positive, but their boss's actual motivation is just something that can be dressed up pretty to look like that stated motivation. World domination, for instance, does all three of those things from a certain point of view, but our hero is typically much less on board with that. This disconnect between their boss's true motivation and their own motivation is what causes the schism once they realize they're not actually on the same page. If, in contrast,
So this has nothing to do with a revelation of their being bad. It's just plots. One person has a plot, the other person has a different plot. Whoop-de-doo.
That exact example does not work because Zuko is very well aware of what his father's goals are. He just starts feeling that, hey, what I want, and my dad might not actually fucking love me. He goes on an entire quest to redeem his honor in the face of his father and realizes, hey, my father's a dipshit. Why should I require his respect?
Right. This seems like a surface level trope, and she's reading very much into it. Like, these are the requirements. Like, I don't recall reading these as properties or characteristics of the trope. It's just a thing that someone says. Hey, are we doing the right thing here, guys? Hello? And that's it.
I'm telling you, she chose this solely because this was a big meme.
I guess.
Not because it makes sense.
There's nothing here. She's just making stuff up. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe that's a part of the trope. I don't think so. You haven't defined it properly.
The best part about Showcase Zuko is that the first time we see him is that he's on his way to genocide the Water Tribe.
Yay.
Yeah.
Innocent
character is in
hero
total control over their own life and is making all their own choices for all their own reasons, and then realizes what they're doing makes them the baddie. This is a rather different trope that usually kicks off a villain redemption arc for them, unless they immediately die or something.
Oh, wait. Okay, so in that specific instance, I guess Avatar is the example. That's a different trope. Okay. Then why'd you bring it up? This is going nowhere.
Maybe it's because she's exhausted all the, conclusive tropes or journalistic tropes like robots.
She created her own definition. Now she's looking at examples that don't fit her definition, and we're like, what? Okay, can you give us an example that works?
something, which also happens a lot. More on that later. Actually, that's a risk for all the characters in this category, as villains will often default to killing minions who stop being useful, and defecting from Team Bad Guy after reading the fine print on the user agreement is a pretty definitive stopping being useful.
Then what's the point? Is he an antagonist? Is he a secondary character? Is he supposed to die? What's the point of the story then if you have a guy make a revelation and he dies soon afterward?
I could go into how those characters are actually utilized in these forms of stories with, for example, the hyena in Kung Fu Panda, but that's far outside of what we're actually trying to cover here.
Yeah, she's just inventing her own narrative again, and we're just like, okay, theoretically this could happen in a story. Where's the example? I just don't get what why is she even making a video about this if she doesn't know what she's talking about?
Also, that's just a tank. What is a tank doing in She-Ra?
Yeah,
Oh god.
If we go to the narrative, I don't know, what was it called? Heal something? Whatever you said? It sounds generic. It sounds so basic, generic, surface
Heal
level
realization.
stuff. Yeah, if that's all it is, it's like, okay, someone makes a realization. They have a certain preference to aesthetics or cooking or morals or ethics or color scheme or whatever the plot is. Yeah.
Is any character having any kind of certain conniption about the situation?
Yeah, and then that's it. That's the trope. It's just they have a question. It doesn't matter if it's moral or ethical or aesthetic or some, 2 + 2 is 4. Oh my God, that can't be right. Let me think about that. Like, it doesn't matter. The outcome doesn't matter either.
Joseph had from JoJo's Part 2 has this exact trope happen to him within a clip of 20 seconds of episode 10 where he's eating spaghetti, black spaghetti, and he doesn't know if he's gonna like it, and he tastes it and goes, this is actually delicious. That's a heal realization. There you go.
Yeah.
He had a question of, wait, do I like this? Yes, I like this. Boom.
Is it good or is it bad? That's all it is.
And here on a side note, complete side note, this frame should illustrate and explain to everyone who doesn't understand the difference between Japanese animation that we in the West call anime and Western cartoons. Just because these shows try to emulate the eyes and facial expressions used in anime, and usually do it in a very sloppy fashion, I would say, an object like this tank would never look like this.
I'm not even
in
sure
an anime.
What that
Look
is.
how flat. All the colors are flat. There's no lighting here, no shading, nothing, no details. It's just, what the hell is this? This is cheap ass crap. And do not ever mistake these things for one another. This is a cheap cartoon. And so are all the other shows that look like it and are animated.
I feel like I'm not learning anything today, but I'm just lost. This
I
picture,
warned you.
This picture's like, what am I even looking? Is that a vehicle of some
shapes?
Yeah, they're just like lines. What is going on?
Yeah, I see a railgun. I see what looks like piping.
There's no shading. I'm just like, it's different colors and lines. I'm like, okay.
The only thing that's outlined is the rear because the cat cunt is. That's also a genocidal maniac, by the way, that gets redeemed because she sees the errors of her ways after she's done genociding people. She's about to pop out of it and going, hey.
All right. Here is Mike Hunt. Thank you, sir. I feel like a lot of Are We the Bad Guys stories these days are just trying to ape Last Airbender. Personally, I'm a bigger fan of the trope when the story makes it clear that both sides are pretty bad. Example, Jinro. Well, Jinro is a different story. It's kind of a modern spin on a fairy tale.
Jinro is more about who is the wolf in a wolves eat each other narrative.
Right.
Like, who's the one actually holding the gun?
Yeah, exactly. It's not about the wolf hunting the girl or the rabbit, whatever you want to concern the fairy tale is. It's this guy going rogue and believing in something else. And he's the best wolf or the strongest wolf. Yada, yada. Okay. Let's get lost for another 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Trying to break away from Kitten Squishers Incorporated, bosses and coworkers, and non-protagonist minions that figure out their bosses are actually evil are often immediately killed by said boss just to prove how evil they are.
Examples.
It is also important that these characters have some sort of...
Doesn't work.
I just want
You're
examples, which what
flashing.
you said.
You're flashing an example of Decepticons, all of which everyone knows they're fucking kitten squishers. That was the entire point of the uprising. That's why there's usually not too many Decepticons that go to the Autobots. Because if you reach the point where you're a Decepticon, you're probably not going to get out of it.
So, I should probably read that trope page to see if the if Raiden actually does fit the trope, because it seems like it's so generic. Anything could fit the trope. The end result doesn't matter. She's just making. I bet she's just making these characteristics up right here. An internal code of some kind. Nope, Raiden has no internal code. He just gives up and he accepts the fact he's a murderer.
have some code. It doesn't have to be a specifically moral code, they just need some kind of personal...
What the hell does that mean? Is that moral? What, does he have a code for making pancakes?
No, you don't need a code. A moment of epiphany is enough.
Yeah.
standard. Kitten Squishers Incorporated's positive facade tends to slip when a minion doesn't...
Oh god, when you put it like that, that's not a code anymore, because then we get to that Star Wars Battlefront character that is fine with everything the Empire does until his own, or her, I don't know, own planet gets on the list.
Yeah.
That's not an internal code, that's just, wait a minute, that's my home.
Yeah,
that's a line to be crossed.
He's totally
a line
fine.
to be crossed does not mean there's a code. A code is something defined.
Yeah, he's totally fine with killing 100 Siamese cats, but as soon as it's 100 tabby cats, he's like, "Whoa, that's not good."
Tabby's my home. Come on, man, don't do this.
You can't do that. I'm going to rebel. Like, whoa, conflict. Whoa, look out.
Yeah, because when it's only about when the line to be crossed is just stuff of personal value, things of personal value, like my own planet, is then you're just dealing with the non-existent code of a narcissist who just cares about what is his. Well, what the narcissist sees as extensions of himself. There's no actual code there.
All right. Mel Gibson, after 5 beers. Been a while since I've been able to watch you guys. I can only imagine the wonderful insights Red will have on this one. My brain is just empty. I'm just like, blah.
Insights?
I'm just struggling. What is the word I'm looking for? Struggling through this? Dredging through it? Yeah, I'm just like in the weeds. I'm like, ugh. Get me out of this damn thing. All right. Well, 6 minutes in. I hope she has an internal sponsor or something. She just pause the video. Oh boy. Okay.
Immediately follow orders, and a character being pushed to do something that completely crosses their personal line is often a pretty revelatory moment for a hero who's hitherto only seen the fluffy, positive side of Kitten Squishers marketing. It's pretty common for these characters to have a chill, casual, no-killing policy they might be encouraged to sidestep for the greater good, or the character might see their bosses or coworkers doing something they consider personally super dishonorable, like sacrificing their allies or torturing their enemies or dabbling in evil sorcery or whatever. Whatever it is, it's not what they signed up for, and it makes them start to reconsider their loyalty to Kitten Squishers Incorporated's brand. In fact, this can lead to our intrepid protagonists getting themselves into very serious trouble very quickly if they assume, perhaps reasonably, that the bad stuff they just witnessed that made them question their entire worldview must be happening without the knowledge and consent of their beloved boss, who they love and trust and would certainly never condone any sort of nastiness on account of how dedicated to world peace they are. Thus, it makes perfect sense for our Paragon POV character to march up to their trusted mentor and tell them all about these terrible kitten mulching rumors they've heard about, and they can't possibly be true, can they? While, of course, from the boss's perspective, their most enthusiastic and talented evil minion just marched up and said, "Hey boss, are we evil? Because if you give me an answer I don't like, I might fight you about it."
Oh, we finally got to the actual point of what she thinks the "are we the baddies" means.
Yeah. Where is this? Where is this in stories? Give me an example.
This specific setup I could think of for Mortal Kombat 9? Where Kitana walks up and asks her dad why there's necromancy being allowed. to happen where the necromancer is making a flesh copy of her that looks like her, has the same voice and everything, and the guy goes, "Well done, sorcerer. Fuck you, daughter. I stole you and killed your mom and your dad. And now I'm gonna kill you in the arena. Goodbye."
Oh, I know a character for whom this actually works. This thing, and then I realized, oh wait, you laugh about the context. Because we'll make a full circle. The female lead character in Iron Sky. I forgot her name. When she comes to Earth from the secret Nazi moon base, she thinks the Nazis are the super awesome people who just want to make the world nice, and genuinely believes that and teaches that to the children because she's a school teacher in the secret Nazi moon base. And then on Earth, the albinized black man shows her, there's this. Oh no! The woman sees in a cinema that Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator is running, and wants to invite the albinized black man into the movie to show him how awesome Nazism is, because that movie is always shown as a great example of Charlie Chaplin praising Adolf Hitler on the Nazi moon base. But then she comes. So they wander in. He's already skeptic, like, what the fuck is she talking about? And then they come out again after the movie's over, and she is devastated because that movie was so long. The version she knew was only 8 minutes.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's how her worldview breaks down. But again, we are in the context of fucking Nazis.
Well, yeah, that's a what is that, a parody movie? Like, what would you call that? It's like a what if? What if we had Nazis on the moon and they came back? And it's like, what? Again, a military organization you're questioning is, they do things differently than I thought. Oh, okay, great. It's never anything specific about a person's slice of life or a simple revelation. It's always about, I'm part of a group who do things I suddenly disagree with or I never knew of because I'm a moron, and now I'm questioning it. That's the joke. I just can't wrap my brain around taking this seriously as a form of analysis. All right. Anyway, Todd Howard, thank you for the 10, sir. $19.99, not the 10, $20. Got a funny story regarding Trope Talk. Oh, they made a video about H.P. Lovecraft. Okay. A while back, which I took issue with. Did we cover that? I thought we did. Told them in a live stream that I respectfully disagreed. Chat turned against me due to my profile pic. What's wrong?
And they had to tell chat to back off, which is perfectly summarizes the kind of rabid fan base people like this attracts.
Okay, so they had a live stream. All right, cool. I thought, because I know we did hear many videos about Lovecraft. One was from her, one was from Maggie May, and I can't remember the other person. Who
Their video on Lovecraft is so terrible. It's like, Lovecraft says that all his racism was a mistake by the point of his deathbed, and these people are still raving on about how much of a monster he was.
Yeah, these Americans are obsessed with any talk of anything racial. It's just nauseating. Well,
they always look at the sins, never at the redemption.
It's ironic considering this is basically her trying to twist a joke into a redemption narrative.
Yeah, this is like, I go to a great bar with a great bartender. I don't care what he does on weekends. I don't care if he shoots squirrels for fun on weekends. Like, it doesn't bother me if I found that out. I'd be like, that's weird. But man, your cocktails are awesome. Like, I'm not there to judge the man on what he does in his off hours. I'm there to judge his work. The same with any other writer or director or video game developer or what have you. This is, again, this trope is a nothing. It's not. I guess it's a pattern. I guess it's an aspect of character moments or character revelations, but you could make any character revelation moment.
It's a super specific subtype of something.
I don't know. It's
of something more general.
I don't. Yeah.
And that and because of that, and because it's mainly based on a joke.
Yeah, it's
that
like
doesn't actually make it a trope.
This is like a pattern in like Looney Tunes, like specific to the Roadrunner, where Willie Coyote pulls out a 1-ton object and it always crushes his feet. Like it always crushes his feet. Like this is the kind of specific pattern we're talking about here. It's like, okay, has to involve a military organization, has to involve a hero or character of some kind who may or may not be secondary, because if they are secondary, then they will get killed off. And if they're not, then they're part of the organization, and they're defect, and they're part of the main cast. It's like, okay. Or it's a joke, or it's a comedy you're watching, and it's not to be taken seriously because there's other stuff happening for the next joke. I'm reminded of Zoolander for some reason. Every time Zoolander goes, what do you mean? Because he's so dumb and everything is like a joke to him, or everything is a mystery to him. He's like, how does it work?
Giga Chat says, don't engage with Red, just go to our house. Please don't. Don't turn it into a martyr, whatever you're planning on doing.
Yeah, do I have to be the guy who's like, guys, do not go after these people? Do I have to be that guy from YouTube or social media to tell everyone watching, please don't harass anyone? Or is it is that your revelation of don't be a baddie? I should not be a dick. Oh, great idea. Oh, I'll change my ways. Okay, great. Let's keep going.
Which is the sort of thing anyone be expected to respond to with, say, stabbing, or a dungeon, or ominously asking if they told anyone about this before coming while slowly reaching for the trapdoor button under their desk. Paragon heroes are often also very trusting, which is usually why evil bosses like them so much, but it can make the process of defection a lot less fun for the hero than if they'd had the wherewithal.
So wait, is she talking about the Paragon hero who's evil or in the evil organization, or is she talking about the Paragon hero against them?
I assume it's Paragon hero in the evil organization, then immediately gets fucking stabbed after they turn.
Yeah, so this is like the secondary character who's naive.
After not being useful anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get stabbed.
They're just a stupid character. Okay, great pattern. Wow, I love it.
Again, would be nice if they took something, didn't require this weird-ass lens, where you just gotta go, oh, if you want to cheat this trope, if you want to explore this trope, you gotta find the stupid ones.
Yeah, like if there was like a reason to kill off this character, say, we need to showcase just how evil the organization is. They kill off any dissenters or anyone who questions a little thing, then great. But that means the character moments and the revelations are pointless, all to showcase just how evil the organization is, as opposed to this person trying to change and grow and fix things and what have you. It's no longer about them, which is confusing because I thought she was talking about protagonists or antagonists becoming protagonists, not antagonists becoming cannon fodder. Which
you gotta switch it up when you're making up your new tropes.
Yeah, is this for side characters? Like, what's going on? What kind of trope is this anymore?
It becomes side character trope now.
I don't know.
They'll be sneaky about their investigative process. This trope also comes with a lot of fun accessories, mostly from the evil former friend line. As a formerly loyal Kitten Squisher employee, our newly rebellious hero will have plenty of friends and allies back at KSHQ who are probably reacting to their defection in all sorts of exciting ways. Some may feel personally betrayed that their buddy chose a moral code over hanging out with them more. Others may choose their loyalty to their friend over their place in the company and defect right along with them.
How does being evil have anything to do with the fact that the people you are showing as an example choosing their friend over their other friend? Both of those took part in the Earth Kingdom falling. They took part in destroying the Allied forces during the blockout of the sun. They have no problem with being villains. They just decide that Zuko would be a better person to stick with than her. There is no moral question necessary to be raised here.
Yeah, and again, the trope could still be fulfilled if the guy goes, "Oh, great! I can't wait to kill more people," or whatever the Empire wants. That'd be fine, because he had his revelation. He just chose the other path.
Also, did you read out Mel Gibson's super chat?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, good.
Oh boy. Anyway, we're half done. I feel like we've gone nowhere. We just sat here and went, "What?"
An hour of confusion so far. Doing well.
Yeah, she has almost a million views of this thing. Like, holy jeez.
Evil mentor of some kind, they can very easily be the evil lancer that has an actual personal connection to the protagonist rather than just an ideological one. In other cases, the evil mentor is the boss, and a formerly parental relationship becomes a full-blown arch-nemesis situation. An evil former bestie can also get promoted to main villain status this way. On the flip side, though, a hero's former mentor might turn out to have actually been a secret good guy the whole time, who was...
This is so nauseating. It's like, or it could be this way. It's like, yeah, there's many variations in every story ever. Thank you, Red.
That's how Red does every single video like this. It's just or.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, how fast she goes, it's really hard to follow.
What's the point of this?
If you just list all the variations where the flowchart can go from here, that doesn't say anything about the actual trope you're talking about.
Yeah, isolate the
then
trope.
It's just because then it's just anything can be anything.
Yeah, all you got to do with any trope, find the pattern, minimize it, go to as small as possible, get the core elements of all its characteristics, and then say, here are variations, and this is how they work. Because all she's saying is like, or it could be like this, and this could happen, and that could happen, and this could also happen. And we're off on like 7 different tangents on such a generic trope, which she hasn't barely defined in her own subjective way. And I'm like, how am I going to learn from this? How am I going to write a story with this defector or pro-Empire-ish secondary supporting cast member who may or may not die when that's not the story?
You're probably not going to learn anything for this video, but you can learn that Copper would like to join the stream.
No, there's really no. I would not subject anyone else to this. This is pointless.
Well, I try, Copper. Sorry,
yeah, there's no. If there was something intelligent, then I'd bring people on and say, "Oh, this is interesting, a different perspective." This is horrible.
Yeah, I was having more fun with the gun video with aim down sights, where at least there he was trying to make points.
He was.
We all knew where he was trying to. We knew where he was trying to get at.
I like Halo. Why can't every game be like Halo and have all the guns from Halo? Look at this game. It has a Halo gun. Yeah. It's the best game ever. Like, okay, dude, we get it. You like Halo.
Yeah, that's more of a point than this, where she's just kind of waffling about without any concrete red line.
I could read TV tropes too and use my imagination and talk about whatever pops into my head. I could do that too. Doesn't mean it makes sense.
Jameson makes a good point. Could you imagine trying to write with this as a guidance? No, Jay. No, I could not.
There's a reason why. Like, I was never taught random tropes when I went to writing school or writing classes. You identify problems that are tropes. You don't go that way. Don't do this stereotypical crap that we've seen a million times and no one likes. And most tropes are just neutral. This trope is so generic. It could happen with a protagonist, a tertiary character, a secondary character, a villain. It could go both ways. It's like, if it's that generic, it's probably not a pattern. It's something even higher level, like someone making a choice, someone having a thought that disagrees with someone else. Like any dialogue with conflict where someone goes, "No, I disagree. I'm going to go do this instead."
It's like on the level of having the trope of violence. That's not a trope.
Yeah, like if you're like, I don't know, in the police, there's this police story, and you're in riot gear and you're trying to stop a riot, and some of your guys are like beating up some protester or something, and you're like, "Holy shit, dude, calm down." And then you get blamed because you're part of the police. It's, oh my God. Like there's a moment of like, what do I do? Who am I? Should I help these people? Should I go against my boss? if I argue, what will happen? Like there's a little bit of there's multiple layers of conflict there that you can work with. Very specific though to violence and being an authority figure. This, she's meandering around like armies and all the stories. The examples were like Star Wars and Last Airbender, all about armies and authority figures. Like, okay, is that part of it? Because she then brought up the kitten squishing company, and I'm like, okay.
Evil generic organization and Shira, which I can totally believe because that does look generic as fuck.
I'm like, is it specific or not specific to violence or military or ethics and morals? Because it sounds like it could just be anything. All right, well, we're halfway done. That's good.
Rooting for them, subtly encouraging their more heroic impulses. Our hero might also find kindred spirits in other former Kitten Squisher employees who defected earlier and acquire some nice tasty validation that they're not alone in their unorthodox career trajectory. Plus, this is an easy conflict driver among the protagonists, as heroic rebels can be expected to be justifiably suspicious of this shiny new defector from the bad guys no matter how earnest and heroic they appear. Now, this is definitely the stock way for this trope to play out, but there's plenty of room for variation. For one thing, sometimes the character is less of a 100% paragon and is a little more okay with doing stuff they think is morally.
This is so stupid. They're not an actual paragon to my rule. They're kind of a paragon. I was like, what do you just made a rule where they have to be a paragon. Now they're not a paragon.
Zuko accepted the genocide of the water tribes and started the series. Please explain how he's a paragon of virtue.
The Emperor is pure evil, but I'm kind of evil, so that makes me have conflict. So I'm not a paragon. I'm kind of a paragon. Okay, whatever. This is so dumb. Getting nothing out of this.
Mel Gibson has a super chat and says, "Don't engage with your opponents. Just run them over. They glow in the dark." Do not actually attempt to hit FBI agents with your car. Just shoot them.
Oh.
Don't leave any evidence in your car.
Well, we have another Mel Gibson. Apparently, reading TV tropes is a lucrative career. Apparently. And having,
only for her.
Yeah, and having dumb little drawings with made-up rules that don't apply to life or storytelling at all.
Magnus Horace says, "Love these chats. You guys make good points." Well, thank you. I hope we do.
We're just confused as hell. Like, why is she making stuff up and trying to sell it as this is how the trope works? It's like, no, every example you've shown on screen does not befit your trope, and now she's contradicting herself by having variation one. Why not just call it something else? Like, literally call it the less paragon hero who does something different. He has a different path in life. Like, great, that's fine. That's the story.
I'm just confused that the entire video so far has just been about people turncoating. Why didn't she just focus on that trope instead?
Call it the turncoat trope. Exactly. That'd be perfectly fine. You know what? Not everything in TV tropes is like sacrosanct, exactly perfect, okay? People make up tropes that don't even make sense. There's this is probably a good example.
I was about to mention fridging. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because that's not a trope. It was done once. That doesn't make it a trope.
Yeah.
But Red made a video out of it, how it is totally a trope, because it's metaphorical.
Killing characters to support other characters is as old as time itself.
It's like, wow, conflict between characters. Let's call it the evil bad guy becomes less evil because he talked to an even more evil bad guy. Okay. Great.
Satan learns that taxes are a thing. Oh no.
The devil defects from Satan. Okay, whatever.
Iffy.
Wasn't that, wait. She loves old shit. Wasn't that already Gilgamesh and Enkidu?
For what?
Enkidu gets killed, Gilgamesh is sad, Gilgamesh goes revenge or something.
Wants to bring him back, but he can't, so...
Goes on these fake adventures to bring him back, and he fails and realizes that that's part of life, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah,
is you become stronger from what you lose.
Yeah, but Enkidu was created by the gods in order to kill Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
He basically defected.
Indeed.
They became
and then
friends.
it became then it became bros for life. Man, it's like, wow, the oldest story we have.
Any story, guys, this pattern will work. Just the first story ever.
Down the side-switching process significantly, as even if their horizons broaden, they might have a personal priority they think is more important than doing what they're beginning to think would actually be good. Similarly, sometimes a character will only realize they're one of the baddies when they're actively mid-atrocity and have already done some really terrible things, and this will kick off a personal arc about trying to atone for what they did, rather than immediately pivoting to team unproblematic faves without issue. This is a
They do not atone for their sins in any way.
So
they just finish the job they started.
So they're a partial paragon still, or are they now completely not paragon because they're bad?
I mean, that is the entire problem in the military. You get orders, they may be shit, and if the state that you work for does not actually have good virtues, good values, then there's no problem with that. That's just your conscience that's in the way.
All she's doing right now
is a you problem then.
Is categorizing the scenario of a particular story and trying to make it generalized. This is all she's doing.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. She's this is a hyper-specific sub-trope if we want to go that route. And she's trying to make it into the big general category thing.
I fear
which Lala mentioned a couple times what it actually is.
Yeah. I'm just amazed that she actually showed the scene I was talking about where she tells Elle the entire story of how they genocided people. And now they feel bad about the fact that life moved on. His country stopped just disappeared off the map.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people that are still stuck with the consequences they put upon them. And they don't, throughout the narrative, they do not face the consequences of those actions. What they do face is the consequences of opposing the boss who turns out to be part of the actual, super evil monsters. And that's what they actually face. They don't face redemption in that sense. They don't go to a war tribunal or whatever. They don't stand before a courtroom. They go and kill off the guys that made them commit to this war in the first place. That's not redeeming yourself. That's just tying up loose ends.
Okay, well, this is so subjective, I can't really properly analyze it. It's just like, you think this, but you have no examples, unless that exact one that we can't apply to anything else.
Well, that's the benefit of having this system where you can just throw in a bunch of examples without actually analyzing the individual parts. What makes those examples work on their own.
It's like when you write a book and you're not providing any references to where you got your information, and you just assume the reader would accept your general knowledge because you read a bunch of books, and no one's criticizing you for that, let alone saying, hey, maybe this isn't a rule. Maybe this is just you who read one book, but you didn't bother to tell us what book that was. But you'll have some clips on the screen, which I think we have to connect the dots somehow. It's a horrible way to teach someone anything.
Do you think Red felt confident making this video?
Probably, yeah.
As confident as she can be with any video.
She just rambles stuff off, and here's a little picture I'll draw, and I'll put that in there, and then I'll talk really quickly on the next. And then, oh wait, my brain had a different fart. Now I'm going to make another variation, and I'll think about that for.
So I think with the choices of videos she's running in the background, that is either just to distract from her words, but with that her choices are always off about what the topic is, about what she's talking about. So either she doesn't care and this is all just a grift, or she believes these are all good examples and correct examples of what she's talking about, and then she's insane.
Yeah, and you're using cartoons most of the time to, I don't think the writers of these stories for cartoons or anime or whatever are like, oh yeah, we have the defector character. We have this other variation where they have to be half paragon, therefore that they have a moral quandary. It's like, no, they just write the character they want. They don't have any of this nonsense she's talking. Like this is structure that you're never ever going to use if you write a story. You're never thinking along these lines. You're thinking about, I want a character to do this because, and to sell that, I have to set it up. I can't just defect. I can't just have a black stormtrooper not want to kill a bunch of villagers because he's not, because JJ didn't care about that. He cared about the visual of him pulling his helmet off and going, and then going, oh, and then the scene with Phasma is like, why is your helmet off? And like just basic conflict to conflict without connecting any dramatic through lines or backstories or motivations. It's just, I'm scared.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good visual. That's it.
There's a couple of theories in chat about the origins of this schizophrenia. Whether it's Kyoko Asada mentions that she might hire an editor, and that could be why the eclipse is so out of sync.
It makes sense. Yeah, it would make sense. Most of these people have, like, at this point, when you have like millions of subs or whatever, you probably hire an editor. Why would you spend all that time doing it yourself? Spend $100, whatever, a few hours for one guy, put it all together for me.
Get a million views video where you just ramble on towards the screen.
Yeah.
Because apparently that works. Because if she truly cared about this whole thing that she's doing here, she'd look up good examples.
Yeah, there are YouTubers that do tropes, but they're actual like professors and talk about literature and plays and Shakespeare. And they quote them and they show the plays. It's like, yeah, that's what you want to learn because there are good patterns in good stories. Yes, there are also these patterns in anime. I don't know if that's the best example, but if it's for the audience, like people love this shit because, oh, I watch She-Ra. She's smart. I'm going to listen to her. Oh, there's so much thought put into Like, no, there isn't. It's a freaking cartoon. It's not that complicated.
Well, you could put a lot of thought into the cartoon. It's the fact that She-Ra itself is just another cheap cartoon.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying all cartoons. I'm just saying like that specifically, that wasn't that well thought out for all the nonsense she's pulling up here because this is purely subjective. This is, I don't know, like how would I apply this?
I would love for her to just take apart or just to present the Catwoman with the heterochromia eyes and try to explain how she's a paragon despite her genocides and active participation.
They're either full paragon, they're partial paragon. Is there a third variation, no paragon? If that's the case, then why did you even bring up the concept of being a paragon?
Mm-hmm.
A paragon is someone who is pure. They're a one way and one way only. You can't have a partial paragon. He's sometimes nice. He's sometimes pure. He's sometimes whatever. So come on.
Much less story for main heroes because it produces characters with very complex moral pasts who might be better slated for emotionally fraught redemption arcs than for wacky fun protagonist adventures. These characters also might consider themselves fundamentally irredeemable, and instead of trying to seek some kind of personal, unproblematic ending, will focus on trying to make up for the damage they did by making the world a better place overall, often by going out of their way to stop anyone else trying to do the same thing, or to more broadly make it so it can't happen again. While this backstory is fairly uncommon for main characters, it's actually surprisingly common for mentors, who are allowed to have more morally complex characters because of their complex and varied pasts, and also typically being more than 2 decades old. These characters maybe were full-blown villains in their youth, but had some form of personal revelation about their badness and pivoted to uncomplicated heroism to support the new generation of heroes and keep them from making the same mistakes.
Hawkeye was not a villain.
Exact conversation I was talking about when she's talking about this, and we're the ones who committed the atrocities, and she does nothing.
Mentor characters are great examples of what exactly?
She does not mentor him. She explains the lore of her atrocities to him. She does not teach him how to use alchemy. She does not teach him about how to talk to the other officers to get them on his side. or to help out. She just explains the context for what these homunculus have done. She does not stand and get redemption for her actions. In fact, that's a major point to show, is that the people within the military enjoyed what they did. And the only ones that were willing to accept that were the fucking monsters themselves. That was the entire point of the flashback.
Yeah, there were the psychopaths that enjoyed it and those that did it with hesitation, let's say.
Oh no, Wisp, the entire point of the flashback is that whether they were completely on board with it or not, they were enjoying it.
So someone just mentioned Ego Dreamer in the chat. What about Paragade? That's just BioWare being BioWare. If you actually look at the definition of Paragon, it's a person or thing regarded as a perfect example of a particular quality. Okay, so it has to be one way, the shining idol in the night that you think of that character of justice or heroism or whatever. So anyway, 10 minutes. Holy jeez, we're only 2/3 done.
Almost there.
Before, sometimes full-blown main, usually very close to the end of the story and right before either dying or being redeemed, but not always. Sometimes when a character realizes they're the bad guy, instead of flipping to be more heroic, this actually causes them to double down. There's something liberating about concluding you're an irredeemable...
So, therefore, it means nothing. It's just a revelation. That's all this is. Characters make revelations. Protagonists, antagonists, secondary, tertiary. Good for them. If they go either way, it makes no difference. This is so stupid.
What I find funny is that this exact trope, she completely missed the point of this trope. That's actually beautiful.
Remember, we were talking about the movie Knocking on Heaven's Door, but Cowboy Bebop, where Vincent realizes at the last split second he loves Elektra.
Yep.
And she's saying, well, sometimes they don't go and change their ways. They go even further. They double down. So if Vincent pulled the trigger, it's the same trope. It doesn't make a difference.
Well, the thing is, if the villain decides that it doesn't matter whether they are bad guys or not, that means that that's not what the trope is about, or the purpose of the trope. It's not, at that point, it's not about whether the character turns around or not, or what this character having conniption. It's about the person that speaks this information to them being virtuous, such as in Halo 2, where the Arbiter goes up to Tartarus and goes, the prophets have lied. They're all going to kill us with a great journey. It's going to wipe life off the face of the earth.
Right,
and Tartarus turns to this omniscient wizard and goes, is this true? And he goes, absolutely, we're all gonna die. And he goes, huh, neat, I'll kill you first.
Yeah, the revelation has to cause a change, and then another explanation has to either solidify the change, so it's like, oh, this is, I'll go along with this anyway, or there has to be an equally rational or over-the-top explanation to stay. But if the challenge is not brought down, then obviously the change must be made. And this has to be made very clear to the audience, because if it's not, we don't know what's going on and why the character would keep being evil or whatever path they were on. And that's not this trope. That's any revelation. That's any climax of any story. If it doesn't make sense, you're like, what happened? Why not? So... Oh, all right. One more super chat from Mel Gibson after 5 years. What if all these writing YouTubers are being paid off to give bad advice so there will be no good writers to make Hollywood writers look good? This is just Red saying stuff. I don't think she's giving advice. I honestly don't think she's teaching a class or giving you examples or giving you homework that you could follow. It's just she's rambling about a thing she read, and she's making a YouTube video. There's nothing else to it. It's kind of like, just right. Here's a great example. Another subjective guy. I like this director because he uses this camera angle and it's so good. And Bob is like, okay, good for you. And visually, it tells a story of why he likes this guy. But other than that, I don't care. I'm not learning anything new. He's showing me, 1080p clips of something he liked, which is nice to look at. Doesn't really help me. He could have been talking about flowers. It would make no difference. Anyway.
You do all the things you think an irredeemable monster would do. You do. While some villains will recognize the scope of their own evil in a sudden crushing moment of personal revelation and immediately remove themselves from the story about it, other villains will finally get the memo that they're the main villains and decide.
The character realizes their villainy. Oh, so they're no longer a paragon. Fantastic. They're either good, they're bad, or they're in the middle. Bravo. You've described every character ever. Thank you. That's so great. Thank you for that lesson, Red. They're good, they're bad, or they're morally gray. Fantastic. Just like, wow.
Paragon ho!
We have reached a quantifiable metric. Good, bad, or in between. Thank you. We are here. We have reached it.
There's 3 variations. Peak. Wow, I never knew that. Couldn't have figured that out.
This is not autism. This is just
advanced autism.
Random. No, it's just shallow, pretentious, rambling babble.
How about the paragon that decides to be evil? How about that variation? How about the gray guy who still is gray and doesn't give a shit? He doesn't make any other choice. He just keeps doing what he's doing, neither good nor bad. What about that option? Or what about the guy who literally says, "Screw you, I'm out of here. I'm going to go do something else." And he just walks off the stage. Out of the
Fuck
story.
you and your marker.
There's lots of variations. There's so many variations, but no, it's only good, bad, and something in between, which I don't know. Like, it could be anything.
And this is what I mean. And this is why I don't think anyone is paying these people to collectively make everyone worse. This is the same cycle of people in the same circle. I mean, not cycle. Well, it is a cycle, but it's the same circle of people that tells each other, quote unquote, tips and tricks on writing, and they still haven't gotten out of the door because they haven't cracked open the Hero of 1,000 Faces yet.
I don't even think they've gone to school. Like, this is basic logic. This is not even like you have to understand storytelling or you have to read a bunch of scripts. It's like, no, it's like, do you understand the words coming out of your mouth? Holy hell.
What about the guy who flips a coin in the morning and decides to be good or evil depending on the coin flip?
Yeah.
He has a code.
Yeah, there's a system. He's got a system in place. That's true.
He has a moral code. It's a coin flip.
Not necessarily a moral code, but it is a code.
It is yeah, exactly. It's a mechanical code, but it works. All right. Oh, we got another 4 minutes of this.
Just sacrificing whatever pretenses or personal code hero of their own story.
Flashback through the code.
Oh
God. We cannot escape the code of the Matrix.
Their own story. Bad in a lot of ways, as it usually leads to the newly enthused villain stacking up a lot of really bad stuff on their ledger very quickly with no regard to actual moral impact.
Oh, thank you for showcasing the genocidal lesbian and saying, this is bad that they are admitting that they are evil and then double down on it. Yes, it is very bad because they attempt to redeem her in the same show.
Yay.
And if this character was to get a redemption arc somewhere down the line, this can make that whole process a lot harder to sell.
That's what I mean. Oh, God. I don't like being 2 steps ahead of Red. I really don't, because I haven't even watched the show.
Yeah, I'm kind of checked out at this point.
But even if there's no redemption arc on the horizon, this still usually leads to a significant escalation in villainy and the corresponding damage done by it. A villain who previously had a personal code or a not particularly evil life goal has now concluded that the actions they formerly thought were justifiable or heroic were actually evil.
Anakin was not a villain up to that point.
She's just listing everything and every possibility. Red, when you do that, it's not a trope anymore.
The exact
Where
point,
even are you? I'm lost. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
lost.
Don't worry.
the exact, like, the only thing I can think of where he could point to Anakin being a villain before this is killing the Tusken Raiders who enslaved and raped his mom to death, and then killing Count Dooku while he was armless. And I don't think I have to argue that the Tusken Raiders were bad people for enabling that, or Count Dooku, who is a member of the CIS that is waging war against the galaxy over taxes.
Well, to be precise, he is the puppeteering the CIS.
Yeah.
And instead of ratcheting back, decided to crank it up. As a side note, this can make the bad guy both more dangerous and less interesting, as instead of having a complex motivation or an intriguingly skewed worldview that casts their own terribleness as misunderstood
What?
heroism, they're just evil out of a sense of obligation to stay consistent.
How do you know that?
More so, why are you using Anakin as an example? He is the character trying to do a good thing through terrible means.
So any climax to a villain story is made worse when they double down? Why? How?
Hell, this is completely just my subjective opinion, but Anakin is so much more interesting with him actually thinking that or wanting to do a good thing, having to do terrible things because of it. It was horrifically set up, but it's much more interesting to have him go, I will make the galaxy safe.
Yeah,
So
remember,
where people that can save my beloved are not threatened by people like you, the Jedi, who attempted to assassinate the High Chancellor without confessing to the High Council first that he is the suspected Sith Lord.
yeah, like there's, well, I always like redemption stories just because there's lots of great storytelling you can use with that. But there's plenty of examples of villains doing things and then continuing on their path, just doing even more of those things. Like, I like the example of Londo Mollari just because I know it so well. And he becomes the Emperor. He realizes there's these people that are like the shadows that are controlling things behind the scenes. And instead of him saying, like the right thing would be to try and stop them, he says, okay, fine. I'll keep going with you to ensure that Centauri Prime is alive and well after I'm gone, and I'll have this whatever, that creature on his chest monitoring him, and like he just keeps going. Like he'll do whatever it takes for his world. He doesn't care. That's
Not entirely.
well,
Not entirely. He is not happy with the arrangement
No,
that
but
he got Centauri Prime into. However, he does not see a way out of it that he can fight by himself. That is why he chooses the arrangement that he's in.
Right. It's
because the creature that is monitoring him also controls him. The only way that it takes a break from that and also doesn't notice when he's spitting secrets is when he is drunk. Which is why previous characters in the show, before these things were revealed, because they were only revealed near the end of the story, were seen drunk all the time in the royal palace.
right, but he could have easily gone to Sheridan and asked for help. Say, hey, we got this horrific, what is it called, the Drock, or I don't know what they were.
But by that point, it was all too far developed. He could not have done that easily.
Yeah, but this is a thing that
it would have been a story in itself.
Yeah, but that's what I
because
mean.
the setup for Londo was to gift Sheridan one of these parasites so that it would one day infect Sheridan's yet unborn son.
Right. This is further explained. But what I'm saying is he kept doing what he needed to do to ensure a reason. So we knew why he was doing it. It wasn't just he's evil, he's less interesting now, and he's going to keep being evil. It's like, no. It's not just...
Londo was not evil. I'm not even sure he was ever truly evil.
He was doing things in a very violent way when it suited his needs, like blowing up a continent. Or was it an island? I don't know exactly what it did. But he was the emperor, and he kept being the emperor. He took everything. He held every power.
Oh, he blew up that island because there was a shadow ship on it. And the only way he saw to try to prevent this future premonition dream from coming true, because the Centauri can have premonition dreams, was by the only way to sabotage the shadows, and the ships are nigh indestructible with the weapons at the time of everyone else.
Yes.
Was, well, there's a ton of people, of my own people, living on that island, but destroying a shadow ship might be worth it.
Right. This is the thing.
Because that is a threat so far greater that there will be no Centauri left once they take over.
Right, but this is the kind of point that he's doing these things, which are horrible, for a greater good, in his mind at least. And we understand that.
He's playing the as the emperor. He is in the unenviable, that's probably a proper English word for that, position of having to make utilitarian decisions for the benefit of his people as a whole.
Right. He's not doing it because he's the bad guy and he has to do bad
Not
things.
Enjoying it.
No, exactly. He's doing it because he loves his planet. He wants to preserve it, and this is one of the only ways he knows. As opposed to saying, well, evil is bad, I don't want to be evil, I have to go stop these evil dudes. No, he says, okay, fine, I'll go along with your plan, but this is how I stop this current problem, and I'll just take it one day at a time. And he does a bunch of other evil stuff. So that's fine. That doesn't make him uninteresting.
Yeah,
it doesn't make him one-dimensional or not seeking redemption. He could do all those things.
Londo is a character that realized pretty early on already, in I'd say in season 2 already. He realized that the choices that he made led him down a dark path that, even after realizing that it is a dark path, he can only move forward because it would otherwise be his head. And I think that there are two key realizations for that. One is the episode where the old emperor, who was emperor at the beginning of the show, dies and apologizes to Jakar, which nobody knows. Jakar is ultra happy and is even joyous towards Mollari, while Jakar at this point does not yet know that Mollari has made a decision that leads to war with Dunn, which of course emotionally destroys Jakar, because he, for the first time ever, he had hope for the Centauri, or with the Centauri. And the second one is when the Centauri fleet is finally at Narn, and the other royals, what was his name? Well, not royals, but the very influential people. Londo's main guy at court that he talks with.
Oh, Rifa.
Rifa, yes, Lord Rifa. Lord Rifa arranged for Londo to be present at the bombardment through war crimes for Londo to be on one of the ships and watch it personally. And he's standing at the window, and you can see he is not happy. He is not enjoying this. He is regretting everything he did, but he does not know a way out.
All right.
He's basically there's one final thing. The entire thing is that there's a metaphor that is set up in the first season already, in reference to Londo's wives, to which he refers to as famine, pestilence, and death. In that moment where Nan is bombarded and he's standing on the ship, is the final moment when, as the audience, you can realize what is never spoken aloud, that he is war. So he's the actual writer of the apocalypse.
All right.
That he's pressed into it.
What I
He
want to say
doesn't
is
know.
there are examples of villains being villains and continuing to be villains, double downing on the path they've chosen. And it can be told well. It doesn't make them one-dimensional. This is a very shallow interpretation of whatever variation she's talking about, which is subjective to begin with. And that's why I'm getting frustrated, because it's just so like surface level crap that if you haven't read a book or read good stories or know how character actions work with backstory, motivations, and plots, it's like you're going to come up with crap like hers.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yeah, completely agree. Yeah, I've totally seen Babylon.
Yeah. All right. Legacy. Thanks for the $4.99. Does Red think Wanda and Carly are justified? I swear, if she wasn't asexual, I would vaporize her with my eyes. Also, hello, lol. Okay.
Hello.
I how does that keep you from vaporizing her?
I don't know how that works, but
Strange rules in this universe.
I don't know. Does she care about Marvel?
Proof?
Yeah, does she care about Marvel films? I'm assuming she does.
Probably.
Yeah, she has them in her clips sometimes, so I'm guessing she watches them.
Yeah, it implies that she likes all this absolutely horribly written garbage.
Who knows? If she can interpret it this way, she probably likes a lot of crap, or even watch She-Ra. So.
Also, Ego Dreamer says, protagonist does not equate to hero. I hate this take of assuming the main character is a good guy. Just follow the flow of the story instead of make perceptions of what.
Yeah.
In terms of morality.
Yeah, just think of Overlord, the video game.
I was about to slap you.
Why?
Because I thought you were referring to the anime Overlord.
That's why I said the video game.
Thank you.
All right.
Overlord, the video game's great.
Let's keep going.
Let's finish the video.
Yeah, and he's not the hero.
Way to watch, but these guys are usually kind of self-aware, considering how long it took them to figure out they were the bad guy. And a pure evil villain is at their most fun when they're both self-aware and gleeful about their evilness. There's a hint of angstiness about these villains that can make them interesting in their own way, but also almost frustrating.
That's not a
villain
word.
who realizes
Angstiness is not a word.
Is there an example of a pure evil villain in storytelling you could think of?
No, her example is that this is a character that wants to be pure evil, but also have the angst of wondering if she's the bad person or not.
Yeah, that's totally pure evil. That's exactly what the definition means. The best example is the Emperor, but he's a caricature. That's it. That's all I could think of.
a villain who realizes to villain even harder is so close to figuring out what might actually be good for them. But as a general rule, the mindset of I am an irredeemable monster whose best hope is to burn the world down right along with me is not healthy. Pure evil villains who are fully self-aware the whole time often seem to be remarkably well-adjusted and are thoroughly loving life. Evil not out of obligation, but because of their passion for the field.
Examples.
But these villains...
She's showing the evil witch.
We cannot trust her references on screen. They often make no sense or have nothing to do with what she's talking about.
What is she on? I have no idea what she's talking about.
That's what I'm wondering, is that the evil witch wanted to be invited to the coronation, and that's why she's a cunt.
There's so many. Even I'm sure there's nuance even to She-Ra, which I just don't know what she's putting on the screen now. So if she doesn't explain it, I don't care.
Yes, the nuance is why kill them, even if they're genocide maniacs, but they're hot.
Okay.
That's about as deep as it gets.
Turned worse villains are usually visibly spiraling in a very self-destructive way, digging themselves deeper because they saw they'd already dug themselves into a hole and concluded the only way to go from there was further down.
What hole?
It can be quite painful to watch, and the audience might want them to try the self-awareness thing one more time just to realize that doing all this is bad for them actually.
What?
And this can be a very interesting character for...
What
Please
plot?
just stop talking.
What is she talking?
We know you. She's talking about She-Ra. She just wants to talk about She-Ra.
Is it Macbeth? Is it Lady Macbeth? Like, give me an example I could wrap my brain around. Like, what are you talking about? They're in a hole. Okay, so they don't want to get out of the hole. They can't get out of the hole. Keep digging the hole? What? Why?
She's talking about Catra. That's the cat woman's name. That's what she's talking about. All these other references are just to muddy the water. She just wants to talk about how she doesn't like Catra.
She is describing some sort of fanfic. What's the word? The sort of not "oh woe is me," but the edgy guy who's like, "Oh, I'm so dark, man. I can't be undark anymore. I'm already too dark." Like that sort of stupid adolescent mentality.
It's the Lily Orchard method of having a video about general topic so they can talk trash about specific show because they're obsessed with fan fiction.
Yeah, like, this is some bizarre villain who wants to redeem himself but can't, and he needs to get ass whooped or he needs someone to physically stop them from. Like, I don't know what she's talking about as an example. So I'm like, I guess that's a thing. In like some teenagers fanfic.net bullshit, but maybe like I don't know where else to find that.
Okay, let me rephrase this. Her reference is a woman in desperate need of a dick.
Oh.
She's in desperate need of a boyfriend. That is what she's describing.
I just think she needs books thrown at her head, and then she goes, "Ow! What was that book?" And it's like The Hobbit. Read it.
Read it. It has a fun necromancer.
It has a plot. It's not as long as the other books. It's fun. You'll get some fantasy out of it. It'll be a good read.
But Smut, she's read Journey to the West.
Oh, I'm sure in the original Chinese, I'm sure she has, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant analyzer, this person.
An author. Villains motivated by spite and self-loathing are a lot spicier than villains motivated by malice and the joys of...
Why? How? When? Who? Where?
This video makes no sense if you haven't seen She-Ra.
Spiciness is... malice? Like, what is she on about? I don't even know anymore.
She just wants an edgy catgirl GF.
Let's just make random personality characteristics and somehow ascribe them to villains. Like, okay.
Because they're not ascribed to villains, they're ascribed to a very specific character. Alright, stop now.
Even while they're at their absolute worst, is they take a nap or something. They can be kind of tough to narratively handle after their shit-hitting arcs, though, as a lot of audiences tend...
Narratively handle? Does the writer have the problem or the audience? What are you talking about?
She's talking about the fact that the She-Ra writers didn't know what the fuck they were doing, so they had a character that okay, remember how you had the rant about Anakin Skywalker going down the dark path? Imagine if Anakin did all this shit, became Darth Vader, and then suddenly he started crumbling like Finn after killing someone, and then turned into... what's the right reference here? Shadow the Hedgehog. There you go. He turns into Shadow the Hedgehog. Where do you go from there? Like, how do you deal with that kind of character? How do you deal with that mess? Or even better, how do you write Kylo Ren after The Last Jedi? How do you do it?
To be taken seriously?
That's what she means. You can't do that after setting him up as being a joke.
Yeah, the character's mentally broken. He's irrational. You can't write the sensible character out of that anymore.
All right, I don't care. Just keep going. This is so broken.
To write these guys shortly after they start doing bad stuff on purpose, and often don't take too kindly to these characters.
They're the villain. You just said they were pure evil. What do you mean?
But they're trying to do a redemption arc, and she's saying that doubling down on being evil can also then make it problematic if you also want her on the good guy's side, so they can have lesbian kissing.
I thought they were in a hole and they were digging themselves deeper. Why now they're trying to redeem themselves?
Yes.
What is happening?
The whole point about the digging a hole is referencing a character that is digging a hole and then questioning themselves, stopping digging the hole, then digging it deeper as story goes on, and saying, "Oh yeah, this character might be it might be problematic to redeem them later on, because she's talking about Shira. She's not talking generalistic terms. She is lying."
I'm just totally lost.
Characters doing anything other or dying, but personally I can't be mad at any story that says it's never too late to stop digging. If redemption arcs are only for characters who haven't really done anything too bad, they're not really redemption arcs. They're self-indulgent angst arcs.
What? Wait.
Holy shit! She actually, I knew it. She actually likes Ketra. Fuck.
Okay, so digging yourself deeper is not redemption. That's the opposite of redemption. But she's okay with villains digging themselves deeper. Okay.
No. She says that she's fine with any story that says that at any point a villain can stop digging and become a good person.
No. That's not what. Let me rewind. I am confused. All right, here we go.
Any story that says it's never too late to stop digging. If redemption arcs are only for characters who haven't really done anything too bad, they're not really redemption arcs. They're
okay. So
okay, Red. Where what would need to happen so that you would forgive Dr. Mengele and Donald Trump?
Oh God.
At what point? What would Morgoth have to do to redeem himself? What would Sauron have to do?
Yeah, what would Sauron have to do?
Does he? What if he opens up like an orphanage?
I'm a good guy now. Trust me.
Yeah, I shouldn't have stolen that ice cream from my 100,000th orc. I want to redeem myself now.
Now, I know I might have killed several of the gods of this universe and eternally damned this world to be stuck in an eternal cycle of minor dark lords and evil men rising up to face what is otherwise an alright world. But please, I'm a good guy now. There is such a thing as finality when it comes to evil. Otherwise, the only limit to evil is when they die.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really matter what the villain does. If the villain if the character thinks what they did was so bad, they have to go on a quest for redemption. Good for them. That's their quest. That's their plot. Whether they stub someone's toe or whether they genocided a species. The scale is in their minds. It's up to them.
It's different though. A quest and stop digging are very different.
Yeah, I don't get this sense of scale or subject. To me, it's not a big deal. It's like to the character, it's a huge deal. It doesn't matter what the problem is. They feel bad. They seek redemption. That's all. Like what was? Yeah. I go out to Londo Mollari because he has a redemption arc. Oh, he couldn't apologize. He couldn't say sorry. He never apologized his whole life. We have this entire episode dedicated to him trying to figure that out. Yeah, well, of course, a bunch of hijinks with the telepathy and this and that, but
so the episode where he retells his life to the young boy.
It's where Jakar is like mind raping him, and he's just like revealing all his secrets, and he's never apologized in his entire life to anyone, and he finally wakes up out of that coma. He's finally tells Jakar he's sorry. Like that was it. He just never told sorry to anyone, and he was so covered in guilt of all the things he's done. The least he could do before he died was apologize.
So he wanted to.
He wanted to apologize, yeah, but he didn't want to
look at his life and his surroundings. If he had ever done that, that would have been a sign of weakness. and his life in the Centauri high politics would be over.
Right. But that's the thing. That's what eating away at his consciousness, his psyche. And while he's on his deathbed, he had to. This is what came to him, amongst all the other things that Shakar was doing to him.
All right. Jay Jameson says,
Oh.
I don't know if that's quite true, though. There's potential for characters to make restitution in some ways. They cannot do what they did, but they can work to fix what they can. Yes. However, there are villains which cannot just stop digging and then turn to the light, such as Sauron.
Yeah.
You're not watching Sauron in any way redeem himself.
And there's plenty of secondary characters whose plots are either ridiculous or unrelated. So it's like, okay, that's fine. They could love basket weaving. Has nothing to do with a space opera, Empire versus Rebel story, but they can totally do that, and they could feel sorry for ruining someone's potted plant. They're in tears, and it's the worst thing in the world to them. And oh my God, I killed your plant, and that's fine. That's their thing. You can do that. You can write characters that are goofy and weird and over the top, melodramatic over nothing.
More importantly, if you have a villain and they've done some horrific shit, you should expect the consequences of that world, wherever they are in, to be the consequences that are usually dealt out to people within the context of the setting, such as Darth Vader. Darth Vader survived the actual Death Star battle with, aboard Death Star with the Emperor. He would be put before a court trial, and they would execute his ass. Such is the consequences of living in the Star Wars galaxy. He just happened to die before then, and got a funeral because of it. If he hadn't, he would have been executed and dumped in a ditch.
All right. We have 2 minutes left, and then we go back to our lives where logic reigns and physics works and the sun rises and all the other things.
Apologies, I got very heated there. Just this reasoning just drives me up a wall, because it's how you get horrific characters that don't really have any true solution or salvation to their character. It's just they stop doing the evil thing. It's all good now. That doesn't bring the dead back.
Yeah. By the way, so she's a socialist feminist. In real life, these types do not forgive ever, no matter what you do. They will always remind you of your past atrocities.
Unless she's Canadian, then it's okay. Then they'll apologize for anything.
Looking at but that doesn't matter anything to the activists.
Sure, but it's a formal thing.
Even the Canadian ones.
Okay, 2 minutes. Oh.
Self-indulgent arc that gets resolved by somebody hugging the character and saying, hey, it's okay, it wasn't all that bad anyway. Doesn't really give any character who actually does anything really bad any opportunity to ever be better. Exploring a character who gains perspective, realizes they were doing bad stuff, and then handles
What's really bad, Red? Who cares what you think? It could be anything to them. Anyway, I don't want to drag this out anymore.
that extremely poorly can be very interesting. Why Zuko is the coolest, including the one you're watching right now. On some level, this trope is all about how one handles the realization that they've unknowingly caused harm. Some will immediately pivot to the new thing they think is right with unwavering confidence.
No, it's not. It's them going, hey, am I part of a group that's bad? Not, hey, I did something bad. Is that wrong? Unless I'm reading the trope wrong. Unless I heard it incorrectly.
Defend enthusiastically as they did the bad stuff. Others will stick for a reason, a sense of duty or obligation, or a bone-deep desire to protect someone else just as mired in it. Some will fall for the sunk cost fallacy and double down on the badness, weighing themselves down with a newfound sense of irredeemability and an almost liberating sense that now they have no choice but to be
or they just want to keep doing it because they believe in the cause, and whatever revelation about doing the right thing was irrelevant to the goal of peace in the world and croissants for everyone forever. I don't know, whatever their goal is. What's wrong with that? You could do all kinds of things for revelations and choices being made. It's this is so silly.
Terrible because it's too else. Others will turn and take a stand against the system they've hitherto served, even if they know it'll go very badly for them, because the principle of the thing is more important than their own well-being. Unsurprisingly, in fiction as in reality, the question, how should we act when we realize we've done something bad, is a complicated one with a lot of different answers, and it is very rich in drama. So, yeah.
And thanks again to World Anvil for sponsoring this video.
What? That was it?
So life is complex, so is storytelling.
What the fucking heck?
That's what I told you. This is what she wants. Is a character that does all this horrible shit and then doesn't want to explore how to actually redeem those characters for what they've done. Because that's not what's interesting to her. What's interesting is that she can have her edgy cat girl that's had a lot of blood on her hands and is really kinky and bad.
Is that a secret power fantasy of hers that she wants to beat at?
I don't know.
I don't want to explore that.
This is horrible. Please say there's some kind of trope here to help me feel better. Or sorry, some meme to help me feel better. Jinro.
You
Wow.
could start pulling out your facial hair one by one.
Yeah, with my fingernails. Wow. Cool Death Squad. Dehumanization is bad. Fascism is bad and evil. Glorifying murder and war is bad. Kid hitting me with OK Boomer. Me hitting him with my car. Oh. Wow, look at that pipe. Holy jeez. How I wake up knowing my enemies are ontologically evil and there is no act against them which is wrong. Oh, dear. No way, bro.
What is that?
That is the boys.
That I know. What is the comic thing? Cartoon thing?
I don't know. Could tell you. Kirby Planet Robobot on 3DS has one of my favorite uses of this trope, or at least a similar trope. President Haltman's daughter and secretary, despite betraying Haltman and attempting to sell the mother computer's database, Susie still deeply cares for her father, as she says she did her actions in order to teach the old man a lesson. In Japanese, she also mentions wanting to make him pay. Okay.
Make him come to his senses.
Right. So I'm going to do all these horrible things or whatever to get back at someone to teach them a lesson. Not to kill them or, whatever. Just have them experience what I experienced or have them understand what happened. Okay. Cool. Be the reason why she went to therapy. Oh, jeez. Or went to a really good dinner. How about I join you? That's the Copperal. No, this was not worthy of joining. No one should go through this ever again.
Shouldn't he know what he wants to hurt himself with?
Yeah, but not at my expense. I'm not going to allow him to do that to himself.
Oh, but we can.
Well, you're here for whatever purpose. I knew this was going to be trash 5 minutes in. Like, oh my God, she is way off. When they put our memes up on the big screen at our trial. What?
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. Is that Nuremberg? Can't tell. Oh, no, Dr. Nefario. What are you doing at the Nuremberg trials? Oh. Video playback. Can I play this? Is it copyright? I don't even know what that is.
God damn it, I trusted you! Fuck you! Fuck you, Marker!
Okay, that's loud. I will check that out later, whatever the heck that is. Breakfast. The DNA of the soul? What? As opposed to memes? All right. Oh boy, what? I can't even read that.
Let's get this straight. You're trying to boost the main protagonist's confidence by breaking two dangerous criminals out of a maximum security prison, resurrected somebody from the dead, and then you posed as the most evil and powerful creature in history, and you had them look for an all-powerful artifact to use it against us. Well, since you managed to kill the resurrected guy that I knew was easily gonna get off, I figured it would all work according to the plan. The only reason I'm revealing all this to you is because the bad guys turned on me and took my powers away, so I can't prevent things from going off the plan anymore. Explain to us how you're not the bad guy again.
Okay.
Joke being, he only came to them because he was losing.
Yeah. Katra. And that, my friends, is the key to winning any girl's heart. Oh, dear.
Commit war crimes, attack physically, tear apart reality. Probably the word. Acquire girlfriend.
Yeah. And our last one from the Copper Owl, that is, I doubt the rebels could execute Vader. According to Star Wars, you can kill Jedi, so it is possible. He's just a robot man.
All I am surrounded by is fear and dead men.
Yeah. Very badass scene, this is true.
Yeah, strange that Order 66 worked.
Yeah, it's as if George
Because
Lucas...
that is overwhelming firepower.
Yeah, George Lucas is like, well, you could kill a Jedi. It's like, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you wouldn't know because this isn't from George Lucas's period.
Mm-hmm.
This from the Disney period. This from the Darth Vader comic.
Yeah. Okay, that was...
him into a Super Saiyan.
Oh, yeah. That was, I wouldn't say the
Horrific.
worst we watched or read, because she gets political and says stupid shit here and there.
I think it was the most vapid.
It was so subjectively put together and made up. It's like, this is useless. You can't even do anything with this. And people loved it. Almost 1 million views. Amazing stuff. All because they like cartoons, I'm assuming. I don't know why you watch this person. Talk about a trope you'll never use in books they'll never write.
Because these people don't create anything.
I
They just consume.
don't know. Yeah, who knows what they do in their off hours. Anyway, I'm going to go do something pleasant and relaxing and somewhat intelligent, although compared to this, anything could fit the bill to be all those three things. Yeah, that was Friday. Did we have a break at all this week? I think we went straight with Smudcast. Maybe we skipped Tuesday. I can't remember.
I think Tuesday was off.
Yeah, Tuesday was off. So maybe we'll have tomorrow off, or maybe we'll have game night. I don't know. We'll find out. But that's up to the admins. It's up to you guys what we do tomorrow. So thanks so much for watching. I think we need a break. So you guys need to go to bed. Take it easy. And keep the suggestions coming. We'll talk to you real soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Night.